If you think Florida is all beaches, gators, and retirees in pastel shirts, think again. Because here in the Sunshine State, the real royalty doesn't walk, it flies. From pink birds that look like they just escaped a cotton candy factory, to raptors diving like fighter jets over turquoise water. Florida's skies are a nonstop show. This place isn't just home to Disney World, it's home to Bird World. Scientists count over 500 species of birds across its wetlands, coasts, and forests. And trust me, some of them are so bizarre, you'll swear they were designed by Pixar. There's a heron that hunts like a ninja, a stork that looks prehistoric, and a songbird that can mimic your car alarm better than you can. So today, we're diving into 20 of Florida's rarest and most beautiful winged wonders, from the mighty osprey to the bubblegum pink spoonbill. But here's the real question. If you had to pick just one bird to represent Florida, would you choose power, color, or attitude? Have you ever met a bird that thinks it's part eagle, part submarine? Yeah, meet the osprey, Florida's most dramatic fisherman. This bird doesn't hunt for fish, it hunts like a fish, diving headfirst into the ocean as if gravity were just a suggestion. From 200 feet up, the osprey locks its golden eyes on a glimmer below. Then comes that moment, wings folded, heart racing, silence, and splash. A 6-foot wingspan cuts through the waves like a torpedo with feathers, and somehow it almost always wins. 90% of the time, dinner's secured. You think your fishing weekend went well? Try beating those odds. Here's the first fun fact. The osprey has a reversible outer toe. That means it can rotate one claw backward to grip fish with 2 talons forward and 2 back. Basically a flying vice grip. Even the fish look impressed for a second before realizing, well, that's it for them. Now imagine this. Every coastal highway sign, every channel marker, every power pole in Florida, there's probably an osprey nest on top. They build stick fortresses high above the water, as if saying, beach view included, HOA not required. And they mate for life, or at least until someone forgets to bring dinner. But here's the debate. Is the osprey a symbol of freedom, or just the ocean's most selfish angler? I mean, have you seen the way it stares at fishermen? Like, cute bait, bro, I caught breakfast an hour ago. Florida locals call them seahawks, but they're really nature's comeback kids. Back in the 1970s, DDT nearly wiped them out. Once we banned it, ospreys made one of the fastest recoveries in bird history. Now they're everywhere again, loud, proud, and a little bit arrogant. So maybe the real question isn't can nature bounce back? It's whether we humans can learn to stop nearly killing it every time. Because if this bird can survive toxic chemicals, hurricanes, and fishing lines that should have ended it, what's our excuse? Tell me, who do you root for? The fish or the feathered fisherman? And be honest, if the osprey joined your weekend fishing trip, you'd probably go home empty-handed and slightly humiliated. If you've ever thought birds were all about grace and elegance, meet the brown pelican, the clown prince of the Florida coast. This bird doesn't just hunt, it crash lands into its meals like it missed the memo on aerodynamics. Picture this, a 6-foot wingspan gliding low over turquoise waves. Then suddenly, kaboom! It dives headfirst into the ocean. Bill first, wings flapping, water flying everywhere. Somehow it still comes up with a fish, looking proud and slightly confused, like, did anyone catch that? No? Cool. But here's the thing. That clumsy dive is actually engineered genius. The pelican's throat pouch can hold up to 3 gallons of water, and a built-in shock absorber in its skull keeps it from knocking itself out mid-dive. Basically, it's a professional faceplant artist who never misses a paycheck. So what do you think? Nature's comedian or the ocean's top stunt pilot? Because either way, the brown pelican proves that style points don't matter when you win every round. They're also a Florida comeback legend. In the 1960s, pesticide poisoning nearly wiped them out. Now, they've bounced back so hard they've become the official state bird of Louisiana and one of Florida's most photographed icons. You'll see them everywhere, perched on docks, gliding beside boats, or waiting patiently near fishermen like, hey buddy, you done with that mullet yet? Their teamwork is another spectacle. Pelicans often hunt in synchronized dives, timing their entries like an avian air show. When you see 10 of them diving at once, it's like watching a squadron of feathered bombers raining chaos and shrimp guts. So here's a question. If evolution favors efficiency, how did this bird, big, goofy, loud, and constantly wet, end up so perfectly adapted? Maybe perfection doesn't look like a falcon. Maybe it looks like a bird that belly flops for a living and still walks away with lunch. The brown pelican isn't just Florida's funny guy. It's proof that being ridiculous can still make you unstoppable, especially when you dive harder than anyone else. All right, let's get one thing straight. Florida didn't invent the color pink, but the Roseate Spoonbill definitely perfected it. Imagine a flamingo that got bored of being elegant and decided to cosplay as a spoon. This bird looks like someone hit randomize in a design program. Bubblegum feathers, bald head, long neck, and a bill shaped like, well, a piece of cutlery your grandma probably keeps for soup. Yet somehow it works. Under the sunlight, its feathers glow with shades of blush, coral and hot pink, like the sky itself decided to take a selfie at sunset. And that bill? It's not just weird, it's genius. The spoonbill sweeps it side to side through shallow water, feeling for small fish and crustaceans. Then snap. Lunch is served. No sight, no chase, no stress, just rhythm and precision. It's the Zen master of feeding time. Here's the kicker. That incredible pink color, they're not born with it. It comes from the carotenoid pigments in the crustaceans they eat. Basically, their glow-up depends on their diet. Eat well, look fabulous. A lesson most of us could use, right? Once nearly wiped out by plume hunters in the 1800s, these birds made a miraculous comeback. Today, they've become one of Florida's most jaw-dropping sights in the Everglades and coastal lagoons. And when they take flight, their pink wings stretch wide across the sky, turning the marsh into a live watercolor painting. But here's the real question. Is the Roseate Spoonbill Florida's most beautiful bird, or just the weirdest? Because somewhere between a flamingo, an alien, and a kitchen utensil, this bird found its brand, and it's working. They don't just survive, they show up. They're the fashion icons of the swamp, proving that nature doesn't need to follow the rules to steal the spotlight. So next time you see a flash of pink gliding above the mangroves, don't assume it's a flamingo. That's Florida's spoon-wielding superstar, the bird that turned weird into beautiful. If Florida had a samurai, this would be it. Tall, silent, and terrifyingly focused. The great blue heron doesn't chase its prey. It waits, still as a statue, patient as a monk, as if it knows the world will eventually make the first move. With a wingspan wider than a grown man's arm span and legs built like stilts, this bird is Florida's swamp sniper. One slow step, one frozen pose, then lightning. That dagger-like bill shoots forward, and before you can even blink, one unlucky fish has been stabbed straight through lunch hour. They call it fishing, but honestly, it's more like surgical execution. While the brown pelican belly flops into chaos, the heron plays chess. And here's something you probably didn't know. When the sun hits its feathers just right, those gray-blue tones shimmer with hidden lilac and silver. It's not flashy like the spoonbill, but it's the kind of beauty that sneaks up on you. Quiet, confident, impossible to ignore. Great blue herons are found all across North America, but nowhere do they seem more at home than Florida's wetlands. You'll see them stalking the shallows at sunrise, alone, perfectly content, like they own the marsh, and maybe they do. Fun fact, despite looking calm and collected, these birds are brutal defenders of their turf. They'll stab rivals, chase intruders, and hiss like miniature dinosaurs. You think flamingos are elegant? Try arguing with a heron. You'll lose feathers you didn't even have. So what do you think? The heron, an artist of patience, or just a swamp assassin in a blue-gray coat? Maybe both. Because in a world where everything rushes, this bird reminds us that stillness can be power. It doesn't need to be loud, colorful, or funny. It just needs one perfect strike. And maybe that's why it always wins. The great blue heron, calm, deadly, and impossibly cool. Florida's original silent killer. If the great blue heron is Florida's samurai, then the anhinga is its secret agent. Slippery, silent, and always popping up where you least expect it. Locals call it the snake bird, and you'll see why in a second. At first glance, it doesn't even look like a bird. You'll spot a long, thin neck twisting above the water like a cobra. No wings, no feet, just this floating question mark staring right at you. And then, whoosh, it's gone. No ripple, no sound, just vanished. Unlike most water birds, the anhinga's feathers aren't waterproof, and that's exactly the trick. By letting water soak in, it can dive deep and stay submerged for minutes, swimming underwater like an eel with feathers. It hunts by stabbing fish with that sharp bill, then flips them midair before swallowing them whole. No mercy, no crumbs. You might think it's related to the cormorant, and you'd be right. But while the cormorant dries off like a relaxed tourist, the anhinga spreads its wings like a gothic statue straight out of a vampire movie. Every time it surfaces, it perches on a branch, wings stretched wide, neck curved, soaking up sunlight like a solar panel possessed. In that pose, it's iconic. It's been called everything from Angel of the Swamp to Florida Batman. Either way, it's pure drama. Nature's version of don't talk to me before I've dried off. Fun fact, the anhinga's name actually comes from the Tupi language of Brazil, meaning devil bird. People back then thought it looked supernatural. Can you blame them? A creature that swims like a snake, dries like a demon, and kills like a spear. Not exactly Disney material. So here's a question. Is the anhinga Florida's creepiest bird or its coolest? Because under that eerie vibe is one of the most efficient hunters on Earth. It doesn't soar or sing or strut. It stalks, quietly, perfectly. Maybe that's the secret to its power. It doesn't need applause. It just needs silence, water, and one good shadow to disappear into. The anhinga, proof that in Florida's wild, the strangest things are often the most brilliant. If Florida ever needed a dinosaur to remind us who ruled first, it wouldn't need Jurassic Park. It would just need the wood stork. This bird looks like it walked straight out of the Ice Age, forgot to evolve and decided, yeah, this is fine. Tall, bald, wrinkled, and solemn, it moves through the swamps like an old monk with a bad haircut. Or maybe a retired vulture trying to make a comeback. But don't let the looks fool you. The wood stork is one of the most fascinating and vital birds in the Everglades. When it hunts, it doesn't rely on sight. Instead, it uses touch, sweeping its bill through the water, waiting for a fish or frog to brush against it. Then snap! The beak slams shut in less than a quarter of a second. That's faster than you can blink, and it's all powered by instinct and timing. It's Florida's ancient engineer, a living relic that knows the rhythm of wet seasons and droughts. When the water levels drop just right, the wood stork begins nesting. Too high or too low, and the whole breeding season collapses. It's a delicate dance that depends entirely on nature's balance, and on us not wrecking it. For decades, pollution and habitat loss nearly erased the species from U.S. wetlands. They went from common to endangered in a generation. And yet, here they are, slowly rebuilding their numbers, standing tall again in the sawgrass marshes of South Florida. There's something almost spiritual about them. Not pretty in a showy way, but noble in their persistence. Their heads might look prehistoric, but their survival story feels timeless. So what do you think? The wood stork, ugly survivor, or sacred symbol? Because in a world obsessed with beauty, this bird's proof that endurance is its own kind of grace. And honestly, when you see a dozen of them gliding through golden light, their massive wings beating in slow, perfect rhythm, it's hard not to feel like you're watching an ancient memory that somehow refused to fade. The wood stork, Florida's ghost of the past, still alive, still flying, and still reminding us that beautiful doesn't always mean pretty. If there's one bird that refuses to choose between wild and city life, it's the American white ibis, Florida's feathered freelancer. You'll find it strutting through swamps at dawn and raiding parking lots by lunchtime, like it's got a foot in both worlds and loves the chaos of each. Pure white body, curved red bill, pink legs. It's basically a flamingo that discovered minimalism. And unlike most birds that freak out near humans, the ibis acts like it owns the neighborhood. You can spot them poking lawns, golf courses, even schoolyards, stabbing the ground with that long bill like tiny treasure hunters looking for lunch money. Here's the fun part. That weird curved bill isn't for looks. It's a built-in fishing rod. They use it to probe the mud for insects, crabs, and small crustaceans, sweeping side to side in a motion so smooth it looks choreographed. They can even sense prey by touch. No sight required. Basically, they're living metal detectors that eat what they find. And despite their chill vibe, they're one of Florida's most social birds. Ibises feed, fly, and nest in massive flocks. Hundreds, sometimes thousands moving as one white wave across the wetlands. When they take off together, it's pure poetry. A moving cloud of feathers in sunlight. But here's a cool twist. The white ibis is often the last bird to leave before a hurricane. While everyone else evacuates, they stick around until the final moment. A behavior so consistent that native tribes once used them as natural storm warnings. If the ibis disappeared, you knew trouble was coming. So what do you think? Florida's friendliest neighbor or the state's most stubborn thrill seeker? Because while pelicans crash, herons meditate, and storks pray, the ibis just shrugs and says, lunch first, hurricane later. And somehow, that confidence works. They're everywhere. Elegant, adaptable, unstoppable. A little silly, a little brave, and totally Florida. The American white ibis. Proof that survival isn't about hiding from change. It's about showing up, no matter where you land. You hear them before you see them. That deep, rolling, trumpet-like call echoing across the fields. A sound so haunting it feels prehistoric. And honestly, it kind of is. The sandhill crane has been around for over 2.5 million years. That's right. They were strolling around Florida long before humans, highways, and questionable beach fashion. Standing nearly 4 feet tall with wings wider than your couch, these birds don't just walk, they strut. Every step looks choreographed, every glance calculated, like they know exactly how majestic they are. And when two of them start dancing, oh, you're in for a show. Their courtship dance is legendary. Leaps, bows, wing flaps. and spins like Swan Lake performed by dinosaurs in feathers. They mate for life, and that dance, it's not just flirting, it's a yearly vow renewal. Imagine being so loyal that you rehearse your love story every spring. But here's what most people don't realize. The sandhill crane isn't confined to the wild. In Florida, you can find them casually crossing suburban streets, blocking traffic like they pay taxes, pecking at golf greens, or staring judgmentally at people in grocery store parking lots. And no one dares to honk, because deep down everyone knows these birds were here first. Fun fact, those crimson crowns on their heads aren't feathers. They're patches of bare skin that flush bright red when excited or angry. So yeah, when that red starts glowing, you might want to give them a little space. So what do you think? Are they Florida's most elegant bird, or just retired dinosaurs with attitude problems? Either way, they're unforgettable. Their migration calls echo for miles. Their families stay together for years. And when they fly in perfect formation at sunset, you can't help but stop and stare. The sandhill crane doesn't need colors, tricks, or camouflage. It just exists, tall, proud, ancient. A reminder that true beauty doesn't need reinvention. It just needs time, patience, and a great soundtrack. Florida's sandhill crane, the original VIP of the wetlands, gliding past traffic jams with prehistoric grace and zero apologies. Ever wondered what it would sound like if the forest had a construction crew? Meet the pileated woodpecker, Florida's loudest, most unapologetic carpenter. This bird doesn't tiptoe through the trees. It announces itself with a jackhammer to the face of nature. You'll hear it before you see it, that bang, bang, bang echoing through the woods like someone fixing a roof at 6 a.m. Follow the sound, and there it is, a crow-sized black bird with a flaming red crest, looking like a punk rocker who just got tenure in the forest. But behind that chaos lies pure skill. Each strike of its bill can hit up to 20 times per second, and yet its brain stays perfectly safe. How? It's built with shock-absorbing tissue that acts like a natural helmet. Basically, it headbangs for a living, without the concussion. They carve out massive rectangular holes in dead trees, hunting for carpenter ants and beetle larvae. Sometimes the cavities are so big, squirrels, owls, or even ducks move in after they leave. You could call them the real estate developers of the woods, tearing down, flipping, and renting out old trees since forever. Their call, a wild, laughing kook, 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 kook that sounds halfway between a jungle monkey and a horror movie. If you've ever heard it deep in the forest, you know it feels ancient, like nature itself just told a joke you didn't get. And get this bird was the inspiration for the classic cartoon Woody Woodpecker. So yes, that laugh, not an exaggeration. It's basically the original rock star of the bird world, equal parts chaos and charm. So here's the question. Is the pileated woodpecker a noisy nuisance or a genius architect? Because while we're busy complaining about the racket, it's out there building the next apartment complex for the forest. It doesn't sing pretty songs, it doesn't soar gracefully, but it gets the job done. Loudly, proudly, repeatedly. The pileated woodpecker, Florida's original headbanger, reminding us that sometimes the best way to be heard is to keep hitting the same spot until something gives. You think you've heard quiet? Try standing alone in a Florida swamp at midnight when the barred owl decides it's open mic night. Hoo 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 oh. That's not random noise. That's its actual call. Locals swear it sounds like someone yelling, "Who cooks for you? Who cooks for you all?" Creepy? Absolutely. Funny? Also yes. And once you hear it, you'll never forget it. The barred owl is like the forest's night shift supervisor. Round-faced, serious-eyed, dressed in brown and cream pinstripes, and constantly judging everything that moves after dark. While other owls hang out in deserts or mountains, this one loves water. Swamps, cypress groves, riverbanks. If it's wet and spooky, it's home. It hunts with a kind of elegant brutality. Perched silently on a low branch, it waits for frogs, snakes, mice, even small birds, then drops in absolute silence. Its wings have special fringed feathers that muffle every sound, so when it moves, the air barely whispers. Imagine a ghost with talons. Fun fact, unlike most owls, the barred owl doesn't migrate. If it finds a good patch of forest, it stays for life, a true homeowner. And it's not shy. If you whistle its call, sometimes it answers back, as if saying, "You rang, human?" But lately, this southern resident has been expanding north, and that's stirred a feud with its cousin, the endangered spotted owl. Biologists call it competition. I call it an owl turf war. So yeah, even in the bird world, family drama is real. So what do you think? Wise philosopher of the swamp or feathered mob boss with insomnia? Either way, the barred owl owns the night. It doesn't need neon feathers or daylight glamour. It's all about attitude and acoustics. When that eerie call rolls through the mist at 2 a.m., You remember that Florida's wild never really sleeps. It just trades sunlight for moonlight and lets the barred owl handle customer service. You know that feeling when you wake up, pull open the curtains, and the world looks like a painting? That's probably because a northern cardinal just landed outside your window. The bird that makes Florida mornings feel like Christmas all year long. This fiery red little singer doesn't just brighten the scene, it owns it. The male's feathers are blazing scarlet, his black mask sharp as if drawn by a comic book artist. And that voice, pure confidence. A whistle that says, "Good morning, peasants. I'm fabulous. You'll find cardinals everywhere, from suburban backyards to quiet wood edges. They're one of the few birds that actually stay put year-round, so even when winter hits, they keep the color alive. While other species migrate south, the cardinal looks around and says, "Hey, Florida's warm enough." Fun fact, the bright red males get all the attention, but the females are quietly stunning, warm tan with crimson highlights and a softer song that sounds like morning light itself. And when they duet, it's not just music, it's conversation. Couples sing back and forth, trading notes like little love letters through the trees. But don't mistake romance for weakness. Male cardinals are famously territorial. They'll fight their own reflection for hours, thinking it's another intruder. Some spend half the day attacking side mirrors like feathered gladiators. So yeah, beautiful, but a little dramatic. Cardinals also symbolize hope and remembrance for many people. Some say when you see one, it's a loved one visiting from beyond. A comforting thought that's turned this bright bird into a cultural icon. So what do you think? Florida's most beloved bird or the state's flashiest drama king? Either way, it's impossible to ignore. In a world of camouflage and subtlety, the northern cardinal never blends in and never apologizes for it. It sings loud, shines bright, and keeps showing up, reminding us that sometimes standing out is exactly what makes life beautiful. The northern cardinal, proof that confidence is the best color nature ever invented. If the northern cardinal is Florida's flash of fire, then the eastern bluebird is its pocket-sized piece of sky. Just one look, and you'll get it. That brilliant sapphire blue, the warm rust-orange chest, and a face that seems to permanently smile, like it knows something the rest of us forgot. How to be happy. Bluebirds are what you'd get if optimism grew feathers. They don't squawk, they don't swagger, they just exist, quietly spreading joy like it's their full-time job. You'll find them perched on fence posts, power lines, or fluttering over open meadows, snatching insects midair with the grace of a tiny acrobat. Their favorite homes? Old tree hollows, or even better, bird houses built by people. That's right, bluebirds are so trusting, they moved into our neighborhoods and made us landlords. And for once, we didn't ruin it. Across Florida, volunteers set up bluebird trails, rows of nest boxes designed to help their numbers recover after decades of habitat loss. It worked. The species made a comeback so strong, it's practically the poster child for community conservation. Here's a fun fact. When baby bluebirds fledge, the parents keep feeding them for weeks, patiently teaching them to hunt, to fly, and I guess to sing without embarrassing the family. It's the kind of parenting humans wish came with a manual, but don't let that calm energy fool you. Male bluebirds can be little warriors when protecting a nest. They puff up, chirp louder, and charge intruders like they're auditioning for an action movie. Tiny but terrifying. So what do you think? Florida's happiest bird, or nature's version of a wholesome influencer? Because everything about the eastern bluebird feels a little too perfect. Beautiful, kind, dependable, and somehow still not annoying. When you see one perched in the morning light, that flash of blue against green, it feels like a small miracle that never gets old. In a world full of noise and drama, the eastern bluebird is quiet proof that peace can still be loud, if you know where to look. The eastern bluebird, Florida's little dose of happiness with wings. If birds had coffee addictions, this one would need a lifetime supply. Meet the blue-gray gnatcatcher, Florida's tiniest ball of energy, attitude, and pure chaotic determination. This little feathered spark plug weighs less than a nickel, but you'd never guess it from its behavior. It flits, flutters, and buzzes through the trees like it's running late to everything. And yes, it's technically hunting insects, but it looks more like it's fighting invisible demons. Slate blue above, pale below, with a sharp black eyebrow that gives it a permanent expression of, "I'm judging your life choices." The gnatcatcher doesn't walk or glide. It zips. Every branch, every leaf, every corner of air. Checked, double-checked, and rechecked, just in case a bug is dumb enough to show up again. And here's where it gets wild. Its tail isn't just for balance, it's a weapon of deception. By flicking that white-edged tail, it startles hidden insects into moving. Then, snap, catches them mid-flight. It's like a magician pulling dinner out of thin air. But that voice, you've heard chipmunks with deeper voices? This bird's call is a squeaky sip-sip that sounds like someone leaking air from a balloon. Yet somehow it gets attention, because it never ever shuts up. Fun fact, the blue-gray gnatcatcher builds one of the most perfect miniature nests in the bird world. A tiny cup made of spider silk and lichen that expands as the chicks grow. It's basically Airbnb for bugs turned baby birds. So what do you think? Florida's cutest overachiever, or the avian version of a caffeine-fueled intern trying to impress the boss? Because while bigger birds soar majestically across the sky, this one's out here screaming, "Productivity is beauty." It's easy to overlook, sure, until you realize this tiny creature spends its entire day chasing insects the size of dust and somehow makes it look like art. The blue-gray gnatcatcher, small, loud, relentless, and absolutely impossible not to love. Proof that sometimes the smallest bird brings the biggest energy. If Florida had traffic cops for the sky, this would be one of them. The red-shouldered hawk doesn't patrol the air. It owns it. Bold, loud, and built like a feathered fighter jet. This bird doesn't just hunt, it enforces order, with talons. You'll hear it before you see it. A sharp ringing ki-ya, ki-ya, echoing through the pines. That's not a cry for help. That's a declaration of authority. When this hawk screams, every squirrel within a mile gets nervous. It's one of the most common raptors in Florida, but also one of the flashiest. Rich reddish-brown chest, checkered wings, and those namesake red shoulders that glow in the sun like armor polished for battle. And that stare, cold, calculating, like a cop who already knows you're guilty. Unlike its cousin, the red-tailed hawk, this species prefers the woods near rivers and swamps. The perfect ambush zone. It perches silently, eyes scanning the underbrush, and then drops like a thrown dagger. Frogs, snakes, lizards, rodents, all gone in one lightning-fast strike. It's not showy, it's efficient. Nature's version of blink and you'll miss the kill. Fun fact, red-shouldered hawks often team up with crows to mob bigger predators like owls. Natural enemies one minute, partners in chaos the next. Florida wildlife's strangest buddy cop movie. They're also fiercely loyal to their nesting sites. Year after year, the same pair returns, adding new sticks to their old nest until it becomes a skyscraper of branches. They raise their chicks there, teach them how to scream properly, and send them off to terrorize the next county. So what do you think? Florida's most heroic bird, or just the neighborhood enforcer with a serious attitude problem? Either way, the red-shouldered hawk keeps things interesting. It's not the biggest, not the rarest, but definitely one of the boldest. A bird that reminds you power isn't about size. It's about showing up, screaming first, and making sure everyone knows you mean it. The red-shouldered hawk, the sky's loudest law enforcement, keeping Florida's forests in check, one dramatic dive at a time. If the red-shouldered hawk is Florida's muscle, then the swallow-tailed kite is its ballet dancer. A raptor so graceful it makes gravity look like a bad suggestion. You don't just see this bird, you feel it glide. Black and white, sleek and silent, it moves through the air like liquid silver with wings. That forked tail, the namesake swallowtail, isn't just decoration. It's a precision steering system. Every twist, every flick, every swoop is controlled perfection. Locals call it the sky angel, and it's not hard to see why. When it circles above the Florida wetlands, its wings stretch nearly 4 feet across, and it barely ever flaps. Just glides, turns, dives, snatching dragonflies and lizards midair without even breaking form. If birds had an Olympic event for elegance, this one would take gold and not even sweat. Here's a fun fact. Swallow-tailed kites spend almost their entire lives in the air. They eat, drink, court, and sometimes even sleep while gliding. Touching the ground? That's for amateurs. They're the ultimate commitment phobes. As soon as they land, they're thinking about taking off again. Every spring, they return to Florida from South America, traveling thousands of miles in flocks so precise they look choreographed. They nest in tall pines near open wetlands, where they can survey everything. Predators, prey, and maybe your picnic. Their presence is always a spectacle, the kind of bird that makes everyone stop mid-sentence, point upward, and whisper, "What is that?" And honestly, they deserve it. They make flight look like poetry, like someone drew a perfect line through the sky and called it a bird. So what do you think? Florida's most elegant predator, or just nature's biggest show-off? Because let's be honest, when you fly that beautifully, you don't need humility. The swallow-tailed kite, proof that not all hunters scream or crash into the water. Some just glide through life, flawless, never in a hurry. Because when you're that good, the sky moves around you. If Florida had a national attitude, this bird would be it. The northern mockingbird, bold, noisy, and absolutely convinced it's the main character. And honestly, it kind of is. This gray and white ball of charisma has one superpower. It can mimic almost anything. Car alarms, frog croaks, ringtones, other birds. You name it, the mockingbird can remix it. It's basically nature's DJ, if the DJ also punched people for fun. They sing all day and sometimes all night, running through a playlist that can hit over 200 different sounds. And unlike most birds, they don't just sing for love, they sing for dominance. That's right, half the time, this song is just a musical thread. You'll find them everywhere, in backyards, parking lots, palm trees, sitting on the highest perch like a self-appointed mayor, watching everything that moves. And heaven help you if you get too close to their nest. Mockingbirds will dive bomb humans, cats, dogs, even hawks, screaming their tiny heads off the entire time. They've got Napoleon complex energy with wings. Fun fact, Florida declared the northern mockingbird its state bird in 1927, not for its looks, but for its spirit, resilient, fearless, adaptable, and just a little bit obnoxious. Like the state itself. It's a survivor that thrives in chaos, whether that's a swamp, a city, or your front yard. Scientists say they remember and recognize human faces. So if you've ever annoyed one, congratulations. You're probably on a watch list. But here's the question. Is the mockingbird a genius musician or just a loudmouth with no off switch? Because let's be real, talent and attitude rarely come in separate packages. Either way, it's impossible not to admire the confidence. This bird doesn't hide, doesn't whisper, and definitely doesn't care what you think. It sings, it fights, it performs every single day. The northern mockingbird, Florida's voice of chaos and charm, proving that in nature, being unforgettable beats being polite every time. You know how some parents will do absolutely anything to protect their kids? Well, meet the killdeer, Florida's tiny drama queen of the sandbar. When danger comes close to its nest, it doesn't fight, it acts. Picture this, a small brown and white bird, barely 10 inches tall, suddenly starts limping across the ground, dragging one wing, squealing like it's hurt. Predators go, jackpot, easy meal. They follow, and boom, they've just been conned. The killdeer was never injured. It was running a full-on Oscar-worthy performance to lure danger away from its eggs hidden in the gravel. That's right, this bird literally fakes being crippled to save its babies. And it works, every single time. Move over Hollywood. The best acting happens in the dirt. Named for its loud kill-dee call, the killdeer lives everywhere from golf courses to parking lots. It loves open ground and doesn't need fancy habitat, just a patch of rocks that vaguely resembles safety. You've probably walked right past a nest without even knowing it was there. The eggs are speckled perfectly to match the stones. Camouflage level, expert. Here's a fun fact. Killdeer parents sometimes use the double fake, pretending to be injured, then suddenly switching direction when the predator catches on, pulling the same move twice like a magician, repeating the trick just to prove it still works. And yet, for all that chaos, they're actually peaceful birds. Graceful flyers with elegant long wings. Their dark chest bands like neat little suspenders. They're built for speed, not for war. So what do you think? Nature's best parent or the bird world's biggest drama addict? Because that act isn't just smart, it's self-sacrifice in disguise. In a world where everyone's loud and flashy, the killdeer survives by outsmarting, not overpowering. It doesn't need claws, fangs, or venom, just brains, nerves, and a flair for the theatrical. The killdeer, the tiny trickster of Florida's shores, proving that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is fake it till the danger's gone. If the bird world had a superhero, this little guy would already have a theme song. Meet the common yellowthroat, Florida's pint-sized warbler with a built-in mask and zero fear of the spotlight. Small, round, and bright as a sunbeam, the male yellowthroat wears a sleek black bandit mask across his eyes, like he just escaped from a cartoon jailbreak. Paired with that golden yellow chest, he's half sunshine, half mystery, and totally unforgettable. You'll find them darting through cattails, reeds, and marsh edges, flitting low like they're late for something important. They don't climb high into the canopy. They prefer to stay near the ground, right in the thick of it, where the bugs are buzzing and the real drama happens. Their call, witchetty, 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 is one of the most cheerful sounds in Florida wetlands. It's like someone trying to whistle while grinning too wide. Even their songs feel impatient, like they can't wait to tell you what a great day it is. Here's a fun fact. Male yellowthroats are fiercely territorial. That cute little bird? Yeah, it's got fight in it. It'll charge at intruders twice its size, screaming its happy tune the whole way, like a toddler yelling, "Mine," at the playground. Females, on the other hand, are subtler. Soft olive tones, no mask, masters of camouflage among the reeds. Together, they build nests so well hidden you could be standing inches away and never notice. It's domestic stealth at its finest. So what do you think? Florida's tiniest superhero, or just a cheerful little stalker in a mask? Because either way, the common yellowthroat doesn't care who's watching. As long as they're sunshine insects and a good tune to sing, they may not soar like hawks or shine like spoonbills, but they add warmth to every wetland morning. A reminder that joy doesn't have to be loud or big. Sometimes it's just a flash of yellow in the reeds, laughing its way through another perfect Florida day. The common yellowthroat, small, sneaky, and absolutely impossible to forget. If ducks are the polite neighbors of Florida's wetlands, then the American coot is the loud, weird roommate who refuses to move out. At first glance, you might think it's just another duck, but then it stands up and boom, surprise, those feet. They're not webbed, they're lobed. Giant green toes that look like alien salad tongs. Coots don't waddle, they stomp. Every step looks like they're testing gravity for fun. And yet somehow, those bizarre feet make them incredible swimmers. They use their toes like paddles, propelling themselves with surprising grace, then sprint across the water like tiny Jesus birds when they take off. It's hilarious and kind of impressive. But don't be fooled by the comedy act. Coots are tough. These black-bodied, white-beaked birds are scrappy fighters, chasing rivals across ponds with wings flailing and feet slapping the surface like aquatic slapstick. They fight over food, over mates, over space, basically anything worth yelling about. And yes, they yell a lot. Their calls sound like a mix between a honk, a squawk, and an offended kazoo. Fun fact, even though they swim like ducks, coots are actually closer relatives of cranes and rails. So that explains the drama. They build floating nests out of reeds, and both parents share childcare. A rare, wholesome twist for birds that spend half their lives in a shouting match. You'll find them almost anywhere there's water, lakes, marshes, even city ponds. And despite their chaos, they play an important ecological role, keeping aquatic plants trimmed and feeding countless predators up the food chain. In short, messy but necessary. So what do you think? Florida's funniest bird or the most underrated troublemaker in the pond? Because the coot doesn't care how it looks. It just shows up, paddles hard, and yells louder than everyone else. The American coot, black suit, white mask, green clown shoes, and the attitude of someone who's late for everything but never apologizes. Proof that not every bird needs grace. Some just need confidence and really weird feet. And there you have it. 20 of Florida's rarest, boldest, and most unforgettable birds. From the osprey's high-speed dives to the pelican's slapstick splashes, from the prehistoric wood stork to the pink perfection of the roseate spoonbill, every single one of them proves that Florida doesn't do ordinary. Here, beauty comes in every form imaginable. Some loud, some graceful, some completely ridiculous. You've got the red-shouldered hawk screaming through the sky like an alarm clock with talons, the mockingbird arguing with everyone who dares breathe nearby, and the bluebird smiling through all the chaos like a therapist who charges by the hour. Florida isn't just a place for beaches and theme parks. It's an entire planet of feathers, a collision of elegance, attitude, and evolution's finest experiments. The wetlands are alive with dancers and hunters. The forests echo with laughter, songs, and a few very angry arguments. And somehow, all of it works. Fun fact, scientists have recorded more than 500 bird species across this state. That's more than most countries. And while some migrate thousands of miles, others stay right here year-round, braving hurricanes, heat waves, and humans with lawnmowers. Florida's wild wings don't quit. They adapt, they rebuild, they outlast. Maybe that's the real beauty of this place. Not just the color or song, but the survival. Each bird you've seen today carries the story of Florida itself. Loud, dramatic, unpredictable, and absolutely alive. So here's the question. If you could choose one bird to represent Florida, just one, which would it be? The elegant swallow-tailed kite slicing through the clouds? The fearless osprey conquering the waves? Or maybe the loud, unapologetic mockingbird? Because let's be honest, who screams Florida better than that? Drop your pick in the comments. Because out here under this wild sunlit sky, there's no single definition of beauty. Just 1,000 wings and one endless invitation to look up.